I was talking to one of my channel members in the Discord server the other day, and we were just talking about video ideas and different topics and things like that. And he brought up bringing back the teaching vids. And I thought, that's a really nice idea. His specific idea was to talk about like the worst classes or the worst lessons, the worst students and things like that. And I thought, that's a good idea, but we don't want to jump straight into the bad stuff. Like, I don't want people to think I'm a bad teacher or a bad person or whatever. I want to start with a few good ones. I want to jump back into this teaching thing, talking about some of the really useful lessons, some of the really great fun lessons that the students love and that teach them something. And well, anyway, let's get into it. One of my favorite lessons, a lesson that I came up with a couple of years ago, and I'm going to be using it every year from now on, is this one right here. Complaining. Complaining is such a great lesson. It sort of ticks all of those ESL lesson sort of boxes. It's a specific kind of grammar point. It's fun. It's really useful and practical. It scales really well. Different students of different levels can focus on different things, like you can differentiate. It's just a great lesson in my opinion. I love it. Quick little bit of context as to like the background in which I use this lesson. I teach at Sichuan University, so my students are 18 or 19 years old. They're not English majors, they're all different majors. They all have different interests and they're all of different English levels. So I've got levels from like A2 speakers all the way up into like C1 or even C2, like almost native English speaker levels. They've all got different personalities, of course. It's kind of interesting. Class sizes 16 students all the way up to about 60 students, and there's a lot of stuff going on. So it's important to find a universal lesson that kind of applies to everything. So let's get into the lesson. The lesson is complaining. Awesome, let's start. First, you put up this slide right here, and you've got to elicit the word complain. Somehow you've got to elicit the word complain from one of the students. And when someone says the word complain, you just swap over, bam, yes, we are talking about complaining today. You give them the aims for the lesson, which are be able to complain in 2 to 4 specific situations. You better understand the appropriate language involved in complaining about something. You learn about what one-upping someone is, and you attempt to one-up somebody while complaining. This little bit is kind of optional. I may or may not do this depending on like how fast the class goes. My classes are 45 minutes. This is probably good for about an hour. Like an hour would be perfect for this kind of thing, 50 minutes to an hour. We start off this lesson with an activity called Optimist Pessimist, and I got this from a coworker, and it's a really great activity. Get everyone to partner up. You have an A and a B. Now, A is an optimist and can only say positive things about a certain subject, and B is a pessimist who can only say negative things about a certain subject. You give them a model topic like the weather. You give them an example like A would say, oh, the weather's just amazing today. It's so sunny, blah, blah. And then B would say, oh my God, it's so hot outside. I can't stand it, something like that. Then they just go back and forth on the different topics. And that's the first activity. I have the topics ready. I show them one at a time. So I've got food in Sichuan. I've got transportation in Chengdu. And then I've got your roommates. After the first one, I do a slight bit of feedback. I tell them about some errors that I've heard or some ways to make things better, and then, let the other two run. And after the third one, I do another small feedback session. And my feedback is usually focused on like intensifiers. Intensifiers are a big language point in this lesson. Using intensifiers like really, so, to, extremely, totally, or you can get them to say 100%. Things like that to agree with somebody, 100%. There's a lot of little intensifiers that you can use. Sorry, there's a mosquito. You can also focus on stress and intonation. If you hear problems with like vowel sounds or pronunciation, you can work on that too. But yeah, usually for me, it's the stress, intonation, and the intensifiers. That's what I really focus on in the beginning. After that feedback, I go into sort of the SCU rant, Sichuan University rant. Get them to rant about their school. So you have students A and B. Again, it's a partner activity. A, you're super, super angry about something at Sichuan University, say anything you want. And B, your job is to like support them and get them kind of more angry. So A, you're gonna talk about, I hate the food at Sichuan University, blah, blah, blah. And B is gonna be like, fuck yeah, 100%. I totally agree with you. Yeah, tell me more, come on. And like, it's sort of like a hype man. getting them to get more angry. And then like when A gets tired, then you could switch over to B, and then B gets his or her turn to rant and rave about something. And this is kind of the fun part. Again, you remind them that they can say whatever they want. I don't care about profanity or whatever, like for me at least, because I'm at a university, I don't really care as long as they're getting into the activity. And by this point in the class, they are starting to actually really get into the activity. So they've done the activity, they've ranted, they've raved, and they've kind of been each other's hype man and all of this. So I give a little content feedback. We have a little joke about some of the things the students have said about Sichuan University. And then I get into specific little bits of feedback, such as like connected speech. I might take a sentence that I heard and I'll show them how words might connect together, how pronunciation might change. If I've heard a pronunciation problem, then I'll do that, and I might back chain a sentence. Then I start moving into the kind of one-upping bit of class. Do people complain by themselves, or do they complain to other people? Well, they complain to other people, of course. And then does the person you're complaining to just kind of go like this? Yeah, sorry about that. Or do they usually share a story of their own so they can sort of sympathize with you and show that they have empathy for you? It's usually the second one. And sometimes there will even be a little competition and people will one-up each other. So I give them a bit of target language, like a few phrases, like an example sentence. I might like meld one of their example sentences from before into one of my examples and let them practice a little bit of the stress and the intonation. And you can do a little control practice if you have time. If you don't, just jump into the free practice, let them go into the last activity. And this activity is a little different because it's a mingle activity. Everyone in the classroom stands up and they go talk to random people, and it's just sort of a free-for-all. So what I do is I put up a different picture that shows different context in which a student could complain in. A cafeteria, or I might show another picture of Sichuan University, or I show a picture of a teacher, something like that. I'll get everyone to stand up, move to a different table, just move around the room, just somewhere. And I'll put up a picture of, say, like bad cafeteria food, and I'll say, all right guys, start complaining, go. And I'll give them like maybe 2 minutes for each picture. And then when the 2 minutes are up, or whenever I feel like it's time, I kind of shout at them, hey, new one. And then I change the picture. And then when I change the picture, they change partners, they go find someone else, and they complain about that different situation to a different person. And then the other person tries to share their stories and tries to one up, et cetera, et cetera. And then like by this time in the class, everything's getting real loud because they now know that they can say whatever they want. They can do whatever they want as long as it's within that particular context. And it gets really, really insane. It gets very loud, it gets very fun. It's definitely my favorite overall activity in this lesson because everything is reaching the climax. This is the climax of the lesson. And we go through the different contexts. I'll have like 3, 4, 5, depending on the time. And afterwards, of course, you give more feedback. And by this point in the lesson, the only thing that's really left to critique is grammar, because they've figured out how to use intensifiers by now. They've got the stress, they've got the intonation, because it's stuff that I work on in previous lessons. And then, so now all you've got is like subject-verb agreement, and then you've got maybe narrative tenses because they're telling stories about things that happened in the past, and maybe a few like small pronunciation errors or stress errors. And save the last 5 minutes of class for any feedback you want to give, and then that's it. That's the lesson. It's a lot of stuff packed into what for me is a 45-minute class, and it takes a little while to hone everything down, but if you've got a 50-minute class or an hour class, then it's absolutely perfect. If you're doing 90-minute lessons, this might need to be padded up a little bit. But it's super fun. It's really useful. I like to use this lesson kind of halfway through my first semester with students. So that's what's week 7 or week 8, because this is the lesson that sort of solidifies me and the students' relationships. If I have a class that likes me, we get along well, and they are very cooperative and do what I say and are fun, this lesson really goes very, very well, and it solidifies our relationship, and it really just, it's great. And if I have a class that's sort of borderline and I'm not really sure if things are working out, I'll pull out this lesson, and then it usually gets the students to turn the corner, and then we kind of get along a lot better after that. If I have a class that just doesn't like me at all, which doesn't happen that often anymore, then it definitely helps. It helps kind of put everything back on track, at least for the next couple of weeks. It sets the tone really well for the middle of the semester, and I don't know, it's a good one to try. And like I said before, I will put it in a Dropbox or a Google Drive or something that you guys can access. You can just download this for free, tweak it however you want, because nobody's lesson is perfect. Everyone has different things that they need to do, different priorities, and yeah, but just, use this as a framework, and I hope you will. And yeah, I guess that's about it then. Thank you all very much for watching. Good luck teaching. And if you like this video, hit like, and you can check out channel memberships. It's a great way to connect with me one-on-one. We can chat on the Discord. We can talk about video ideas just like this one right here. There's a lot of cool things that you can get through channel memberships or on Patreon. I've been a lot better about Patreon recently. If that's not your thing, don't worry about it. Just smash that like button, and thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Good luck with your teaching.